Climate change. What is it and why should you care? Well, climate can be described as the average weather over a long period of time. So for example, we don't know exactly what the weather's going to be like on Christmas Day this year, but we do know that on average, December's pretty warm. So when we talk about the climate changing, we mean that the average weather we're all used to is going to be different in the future. Now, the climate has changed in the past, but that usually happened very slowly and over a long period of time. The problem with the climate change we're experiencing now is that it's happening really rapidly. And unfortunately, humans are the reason it's changing so rapidly. Every year, we burn billions of tons of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas all over the world. When you burn those fossil fuels, a gas called carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. In Australia alone, we generate over 500 million tonnes of carbon dioxide every year to keep up with energy demands. That weight is equivalent to more than 70,000 elephants. And that's just 1 year, in a relatively small country. So imagine what the whole world has produced over the last 100 years. All this extra carbon dioxide traps more of the heat from the sun, which begins mucking up the climate. That means some places will get hotter and drier, while in other areas we might get more cyclones or bushfires in the future. So if you don't like running out of water or being pulverised by a cyclone, then yeah, you should care. But it's not all doom and gloom, and we can still avoid the worst of it if everyone plays their part. People need to switch to zero carbon energy sources like solar power or wind power, and conserve plant life, which helps soak up all the extra carbon dioxide. It's also really important to learn how our climate works on a large scale so we can understand just how we're affecting it. There are a few different ways we can learn more about our climate. We can look at old rocks or trees to see how the climate has affected them over time. Or we can use maths and chemistry to work out how gases in the atmosphere will affect the climate in the future. We can also take a look at old weather measurements that were recorded during the last few centuries. These will give us a precise picture of what was going on in the climate at that time. People have been using instruments like thermometers and barometers to measure the weather for hundreds of years. And you can find these old measurements in documents like ship logs, journals, and newspapers. These measurements are really valuable, but they take a long time to collect, and that's where we could use your help. We've created a website that allows students like you to collect old weather measurements. It's called AusDocs, and it's really easy to get started. Just sign up on the AusDocs homepage and then check out the video tutorial. You should also download specific instructions for your school at the In Schools project page on the Tall Poppies website. After you've collected some of these old weather measurements, you can create graphs or even look up old newspapers to find out what people were saying about the weather nearly 200 years ago. You'll get a glimpse of what life was really like back then, and also come across some fascinating characters and events. By working on this project, you are the real scientist, and you can help us solve the largest environmental challenge of our lifetime.